and welcome back to Bayou Time on a sad note, but also I want to make this a little cheerful because if you knew Pat Szush, he brought many smiles to many people's lives. And although he passed away just recently, what a career, what a legend. He leaves a legacy that is unbelievable. We've had the chance here at HTV to cover Coach Szush over many events. He was honored many times. His players always found a way to make sure that Coach Szush was honored. We went to press box naming ceremonies. I did a one-on-one with him at my house. We watched him be inducted into the Tri-Parish Hall of Fame by the Terrebonne General Health System Foundation. We watched him do many, many things, including when he was honored at Edie White with Thibodeau members on hand. And my God, to see all the people that showed up and talked about Coach Pat Szush. Like I said, he did many shows on HTV, but let me make this clear. He never sought out the limelight. We were always contacting him. He obliged, but he never called us up and said, hey, by the way, I'm still here. Everyone knew he was still there. Former players, like I said, made a point to always give me hints about Coach Szush, or that they would be naming the press box after him and things of that sort. And when you met Coach Szush, and although I can remember clearly my senior year before the season started, we scrimmaged against Thibodeau while I was at Vanderbilt. It was a much heated scrimmage, but that's how it was back then. But as you met Coach Szush in the later years, he always made you feel like a friend. When I was ever in his presence, he always would put his hand on my shoulder, welcome me, and he always had kind words, and that's just the guy that Pat Szush was. Pat attended Thibodeau High School where he played football, basketball, and baseball. There he met Majorette Beverly Freeman. Pat graduated in 1949 and married Beverly in 1950, who was no longer allowed to be a majorette after their wedding. He went on to attend Francis T. Nichols Junior College while working at his father's West End foundry. He then moved on to attend Southeastern Louisiana College, where his mode of transportation was often on the Acadia Dairy Milk delivery truck. He graduated in 1955 with a Bachelor of Science in Education. He played baseball for both undergraduate schools. He then received his Master of Education degree plus 30 from Nicholls State University. He began his teaching and coaching career at Lockport Junior High. He continued his career at Thibodeau High School, Thibodeau Junior High, Thibodeau College, Thibodeau Central Catholic, Edie White Catholic High School, Assumption High School, and ultimately returned and then retired from coaching at Thibodeau High School in 1982. He served as athletic director, assistant coach, head coach, and driver's education teacher during his many years in education. He continued to teach full-time until 1995. He was a substitute teacher up until 2007. As a head coach, Pat's record was 175, 76, and 13 with a winning percentage of .688. He served as coach during 2 undefeated regular seasons, 2 state championship wins, and multiple playoff runs. And just right here, I should break in because I want to run just a little bit of the excerpt that I had with him at my house on a one-on-one program a few years back. We were both a little younger, but let me roll in some of that footage. He was just a special guy.
Of course, when we were playing Edie White, we didn't realize that all the talk during the week from the coaches, of course, Cam Morvaunt, Joe Fake, were our coaches at Vanderbilt, and they were sitting
They would trade us.
Well, that's precisely what I'm getting to. The fact that they're sitting there telling us how much they hate the coaches on the Edie White side and they rile all the players up, and we go out with this passion like we're leading the Army, and we play our hearts out. And then a couple of years later, after we graduate, we see them eating or drinking with the guys that they said they hated a couple of years ago, and that was all part of the scheme.
Well, you didn't see the brothers from E.D. White eating at the brothers' home at Vanderbilt prior to the war.
But I heard about it after the fact.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was good. But it was good. It was.
And there you see it from a previous one-on-one. But it didn't stop there. He had a press box named after him at E.D. White. Let's roll in some of that footage where they honored him once again.
There you see legendary Coach Pat Szush, and they named the new press box after him, rightfully so. Good man, and there you see
Superman right there.
That's the new stadium. And I've got to tell you that the E.D. White press box will now be officially named, whether he wants to call it OK Pat Szush or the Pat Szush press box. Congratulations, Coach.
And then another favorite moment, as all of his past players gathered at E.D. White just to pay a little homage to a man that they loved so dearly.
Philosophy. I carried his philosophy all through my high school, my college days, my coaching career. The philosophy was simple: family first, athletics, school second, and athletics third. And think about it, and make God being the top of that family being the first thing. He always told me, he said, "Laurie, the more rules you make, the more rules there are to break." I said, "You're right, Coach." He says, "Simple rules. We're gonna have 3 rules. That's it. 3 rules, Coach. That's what you told me. We're not gonna steal. We're not gonna use vulgarity to the kids. And for God's sakes, do not lie to me." And he said, "Because remember, if I ever call," he always tell the athletes, "if I ever call you in my office, remember the question I'm gonna ask you, I already know the answer. So don't compound it, don't lie."
And finally, Tri-Parish Hall of Fame. Terrebonne General Health Systems and their foundation, the Tri-Parish Hall of Fame, he was inducted recently. Let's listen in. Coach Pat Szush. He'll be missed, but he'll be remembered. What a great individual. What a great family man. He was a great husband, great father, great grandpa, great grandpa, great coach, great friend. You name it, he was great at it. A lot of people.
Coaches never die. They just fade away. And with that, I thank you, and I will just fade away. I love you. It's been great.
When it's all said and done, and people are gonna talk about Coach Szush, and I ask this question on every show, and you gotta put one word on your tombstone that's gonna describe you as a coach, as a teacher, as a husband, as a mentor, what would the one word be?
I don't know. Fair.
One-on-one is brought to you by Coastal Commerce Bank.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this segment of One-on-One. I'm Martin Folse, and today we have a very special guest, a guest that I'm sure you will recognize his name, Coach Szush, who coached at E.D. White High School and also at Thibodeau High School. Coach, first of all, welcome to the program.
No, thank you, Martin. Really appreciate you offering. It's a very, very wonderful occasion. Thank you.
Well, we're going to have a lot to talk about, and it's unusual for a Vanderbilt grad to be talking to a guy that when I was growing up was leading E.D. White, our rivals, but we're going to be nice to you today.
We can compromise.
All right. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, more with Coach Szush. We'll be right back. And welcome back to One-on-One. As promised, we have Coach Szush with us here on One-on-One. And Coach, first of all, for a lot of people watching who recognize you right off the bat, let's go back, way back in history. Tell us a little bit about your childhood and what got you spurred on and interested in being a coach.
Well, I was born in Thibodeau. My father owned a foundry in Thibodeau, and I'm the youngest of 4 kids. I have an older sister, Eunice, that passed away not too long ago, and brother John, Jimmy, and I went to Thibodeau High School, played basketball, a little football, baseball, and one of the mentors that I had that I really appreciated was Joe Fake's father, Theo. He was like a grandfather to me, and we struck a good relationship. And one time he told me, he said, if I ever go into coaching, and made it my life, that if he had an opening, he would see if I'd come back with him. And I enjoyed playing all types of sports. The neighborhood was full of kids in the neighborhood played baseball all year round, basketball, track, we ran, we were all energetic. And I guess my first love was, might have been basketball.
Really?
And then I finally decided that I would go into physical education, and that made a move, and that's where it has been for the last 40 years of teaching, and recreation has been very good to me.
Now, you started coaching in 1954, and then you retired in 1983 as a coach, but you went on into the 90s as a teacher, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
See, I married very early. I married the year I got out of high school, 1950. I married Beverly Freeman. Her mother and father run Bill's Grocery. And
so you were 18 and 19 when you got married?
Just going on 19.
Wow.
And I attended Nichols. It was a junior college then.
Right.
And I went sometime part-time and full-time. I worked with my father at the foundry. And then from there, I went to Southeastern, and I graduated from Southeastern.
Now, when you say the foundry, is that the same place called the foundry today?
Oh, no. This was a machine shop. He did a great deal of sugar house work, scrapers, turn plates, crushers.
I thought maybe they might have kept the name.
He molded and cast iron and did a lot of work for sugar mills.
How was your childhood? Was it tough, or did you have parents that were tough on you? And I mean, because naturally you've had some discipline over the years being a coach and a teacher. So how was your childhood?
Well, the mother was the one that probably oversaid me. My father was kind of tough.
Yeah.
But as long as you didn't do anything obnoxious,
right.
You kind of played the string, and I was the baby. So my mama kind of took care of me. I don't know if she favored me, but I was the youngest one. And
did you remember ever doing anything as a child that they had to bring you in and bring you back in line?
Well, one time she had to bring me back to school. I had a little misfortune. I kind of got in the way of a little incident, and I was suspended for one day, and she had to bring me back to school. But other than that, it worked out good.
And how did that change you? Did it sort of send a message?
Oh yeah, you get the message.
One way or the other. Now, how did you get interested? Like you said, you had some mentors that got you interested in coaching, but you said you went to Thibodeau High School, right?
Yes.
How did you end up at E.D. White, which was at that point Thibodeau College?
Well, let's see, my first coaching job was 1954-55 at Lockwood High School.
Okay.
The Dudley Hillman, Hank Barrios was there, and they just converted from, I believe, 8-man football to 11. And it was a good experience.
Right.
Dudley was a fine person, and was willing to let us do some coaching. And the next year, like Theo said, there was an opening. There was 2 openings at Thibodeau High School, and I got one of them, and Spike Bergeron who got the other. And I stayed at Thibodeau High School for 2 years.
Okay.
And Theo became the principal. And then they just opened Thibodeau Junior High. That was the first junior high in the parish. And I was selected as the head coach and athletic director of the junior high. I stayed there 5 years. And it was we had some good kids over there. I believe in 5 years. I believe one year in 1961, I believe. The football team was 6-0. The basketball team was 19-0. And the track team went 5-0.
Wow.
And
that's a coach's dream.
Oh, I tell you, it was a nice situation.
Now, I want to bring up something because I'm proud of the fact that I know this, but I don't think a lot of people in the viewing audience would know this. Correct me on the date if I'm wrong, but was it 64 at Edie White that you brought in, or you allowed the first blacks to integrate and play football at Edie? Was that the right year?
1964, 65. It was Thibodeau College.
Okay.
We were at all boys school, and Mount Carmel was the girls' school. And St. Luke Catholic School in Thibodeau was closed because of financial reasons. So I believe maybe St. Lucie and Houma might have closed about the same
they
time.
closed simultaneously.
And we went to school. We had fall football going on, and we knew we were going to get a few colored boys, and didn't know how many. And Brother Louis Joseph was the principal at the time, and we had the coaches, and we each had a spot. We didn't know what was going to happen, and sure enough, cars came in, buses came in, and the colored boys met by the brother's house, and they stayed out there. And I was at the front position in the front of the building. And I see about 12, 15, 18 seniors and that walking on over. And I said, well, where are y'all going, guys? I said, well, we're going in the back and see who's out there, go meet with them. If they're going to be part of us, we want to know their names and so on. And sure enough, I said, that's a good idea. So we went back there and they introduced themselves and everything was fine. And we didn't have a cafeteria. We used to walk over to St. Joseph's for lunch. So we had duty at St. Joseph's, so we would get the car and we'd ride, and the kids would walk over and eat. So on the way back, you have about 300 yards. We had a large concrete court out there for basketball. And lo and behold, the court is surrounded with kids. And we're looking out there and saying, what is going on? Thought might have had a riot or something going on. But when we pulled back into the driveway, they had 2 games of 3-on-3. They were playing basketball. And I tell you, everything worked. We had no problems. We just, it was a beautiful situation.
How much courage did it take, looking back, how much courage did it take for you and the administration at that time to make that decision, knowing, and my next question to you is going to be, I'm sure that some of the other schools who weren't ready to integrate probably gave you some problems with scheduling. Am I correct?
Well, after the first day, we just had a registration and so on, a short day. Well, the second day, we had a faculty meeting to determine the number of kids you had in class, books and supplies that you needed. And as I was going to the brother's house, Roosevelt Sanders, asked, he said, Coach, can I talk to you? I said, what do you need? He said, can we come out for football? Well, I said, Rose, I said, at this time I can't answer it right now. I said, I have a faculty meeting. And I said, but meet with me tomorrow morning when you first get in, and I'll have some answers and I'll talk with you. So lo and behold, I went to talk with Brother Louis Joseph after the meeting, and he said, what are you going to do, Coach? I said, well, brother, if they're here, I guess we could play them. I said, but first, I said, let's check eligibility. Let's check their grades, their attendance, and so on. And I said, if they're eligible, I said, I see no reason not to play them. He said, well, Coach, he said, I'm glad you did that. I'm glad that's your same philosophy as mine. So I said, well, let me make another check. So I called the State Athletic Commissioner, I believe it was Buddy Waters at the time, and I proposed the problem that if we did integrate, that if one of them asked to come out, would it be all right to let him play? And he kind of hemmed and hawed, and he said, well, it wasn't exactly the right time.
Right.
But I said, well, if we did apply and put him in, I said, if he met every eligibility rule, would it conform with your office? He said, well, I can't tell you not to do it, but if you send it in, if he's eligible, we'll okay it. And we went along, and Roosevelt and Cohen Richard did come out, but Roosevelt stayed, and he was the first to, and he was a kicker, and he played, and it did create some problems. Well, the first 2 games of the season was called off because of the hurricane. Our opening game was against St. James, and we might have had a problem there to work out, but the hurricane wiped that out.
Right.
And
I guess it's so ironic today because you look at them, and a lot of them are predominantly black programs. So it's just hard to imagine that in those days, integration was not there. How does it make you feel? How proud does it make you, the fact that you were the first coach to allow blacks to play in a high school football team, as far as we know it, in South Louisiana or Louisiana for that matter?
Well, I tell you, it was an experience. We had some ball clubs that would not play us. We had places where we used to feed kids after the ball game that would not feed us. But the Mothers Club, the bird feeders, there was the mothers of the football team. They came in and they prepared our pregame meal. And we went on the road. They had baskets of food, and it worked out beautiful. And see, Roosevelt played basketball. We also played baseball.
Right.
And the 2 other black they ran track and field. And they qualified in addition to Francis James that we was one, and a Morgan. And they qualified in the 100, the 200, the 440 relay, the 880 relay, and they were qualified to go to the state meet in Baton Rouge.
Didn't you tell me some teams scratched them?
Well, a couple of teams from North, Mid-Louisiana called during the week and wanted to know if we did have members of the Negroid race that were qualified. I said, they sure did. He said, do you plan on running them? I said, if they qualified, they're going to run. And when they did come to the meet, if they had a particular kid in that division, entry, they scratched, they would not run.
Amazing.
So, but times have changed,
Right.
and it's worked out. We had no problems.
Do you see some of those players today?
Yes.
What kind of relationship do you have with them?
Good relations.
How appreciative are they that you made that step forward for them?
Well, you see, they do, but then you have a number of people in the area that did not know that Thibodeau College existed or Mount Carmel.
Right.
There's no history of it now. But Mount Carmel now is a hotel, motel.
Right.
Old Thibodeau College is a land, the home built in it, and they don't go back that far. But it's a good experience. Then in the All-Star game in 1969, I was with the West, and that was the first black that played in the All-Star game. I believe Charles Battle from the Shreveport area. And I was working with the defense, and we became pretty good friends and so on. And he told me one day, he said, Coach, he said, you play a defensive end. He said, let me do what I did in high school. I said, well, what do you do, Charles? He said, I lined up back of the center, and I chose any side that I wanted to play, because if I played this side all game, they wouldn't run this way. I said, well, you could do the same thing here. So the 2 ends would beat back, and he'd pick a side, the other would go the other way. And I said, well, look, I said, he signed up with the University of Colorado. Now, I believe he stayed there a year or 2, and he wound up with Grambling. But I told him, I said, son, I said, you make All-American, get the pros. I said, we're going to have a franchise that's going to sell hamburgers. He said, what you mean? I said, we're going to call them Battle Burgers.
Let's talk about your coaching years. Talk about Edie White and Thibodeau. Talk about some of the memorable moments you have in coaching. Talk about some of the records. Talk about some of the games that stick out in your mind, and take us through that time period.
I guess the first game, we opened up with St. James, and that was our first road game, and it was our my first victory.
Right.
And it was a memorable one. We played. Glenn Brady was the coach at St. James, and he had just gotten to St. James, and I had just gotten the head coach at Thibodeau College. And years passed by, and he was at Thibodeau High School in his 70s. I'm coaching his two sons. So that was a one.
How many wins did you have in coaching in football?
Off the record, I believe it's something like 172, 77, and about 12 ties, something up in there.
That's a pretty good record.
And another good win, I believe, when we won in Thibodeau, we beat St. Francis for the first time in their history.
Right.
Beat them good, 14-13.
I see you take pride when you say that.
Well,
That rivalry, I can remember as a young boy. I remember the rivalry, and as I grew up to be a teenager at Vanderbilt, my brother played, for Vanderbilt, and his team with Coach Melvin Spinella and Brian Gaynor went against your clubs.
The Rooster was there for a while.
That was about as heated a rivalry.
It was good.
As you could get. Now, it changed a little when we were seniors. Not much, because we still had a district championship on the line, but I can remember those games getting pretty nasty at times.
If a player wasn't up for Vanderbilt, he wasn't a player. We had some good rivalries. I mean, some excellent ball games. I mean, good competition on each side. And the tempers flared up, but it calmed down, and you waited for next year. It was good.
I think the whole atmosphere was one of rivalry. Of course, when we were playing Edie White, we didn't realize that all the talk during the week from the coaches, of course, Cam Morvaunt, Joe Fake, were our coaches at Vanderbilt, and they were sitting
They were traitors.
Well, that's precisely what I'm getting to. The fact that they're sitting there telling us how much they hate the coaches on the Edie White side, and they rile all the players up, and we go out with this passion like we're leading the Army, and we play our hearts out, and then a couple of years later after we graduate, we see them eating or drinking with the guys that they said they hated a couple of years ago, and that was all part of the scheme.
Well, you didn't see the brothers from Edie White eating at the brothers' home at Vanderbilt prior to the war.
But I heard about it after the fact.
I mean, it was good rivalry. It was good. It was very, very good.
What about some of the antics that y'all would do in that rivalry? You would send letters.
Oh, we had
talk about a letter that you sent to Tommy Groh one time.
Well, Tommy Groh received a very obnoxious letter from Vanderbilt, and it threatened a lot of his livelihood and his little patsy and so on and so and so, and he signed, and he was a pretty good leader, and he kind of get the ball club up, and anyhow.
You signed it, Barry Blackwell. We don't mind saying Barry Blackwell, who works for Terrebonne Parish government, was a great football player.
Barry was a big tight end. I mean, he was a super stud. He was a good punter, I believe, and everything. Right. He was outstanding, I believe.
And you forged his name on the letter.
Well, anyhow, he ran a tight end, and he hit him with a little lob pass, and a little corner, I believe. Byron Talbot cracked him one way, and Tommy hit him the other way, and I could see him on top of him, just pointing his finger. And I said, what's going on? He said, I just told him, he said, if you ever write me another letter, I'll kill him. It was good. And then one of them had painted a little sparrow red and put it, and we said they had done that to the Cardinal, and we had on it.
Now I got to ask you, because you coached Joe Fake, who works for HTV today. You also coached Cam Morvaunt, who is the district attorney in Thibodeau, in Lafourche, and Cam was our football coach at Vanderbilt. Now, when we were seniors, we had to listen to the Edie White fight song for a week before we played Edie White. We also had letters being delivered to us from Edie White.
Oh, yeah.
Did he learn all this from you?
He might have picked up a few coaching tricks there, but Cam was a good athlete himself. Now, Cam was pretty. He was the biggest athlete we had on the team.
Right.
And he played a defensive tackle and an offensive tackle. He threw the shot in the disc.
Right.
And I can remember, I mean, Carol Gula was coaching at the time, the track, and that was the first time in the shot that he threw 40 feet plus, and he was so excited. He was calling the carol. He slipped and fell, and I believe he spiked himself on the hand, trying to get him over to measure that one. But Cam, I tell you, he coached with me at E.D. White,
Right.
and he left Vanderbilt to come to Thibodeau High School with me.
Right.
And one afternoon during spring training, he had a phone call. And he took the phone call when he came back, and I knew he was upset. And the phone call, I told him that he finally was accepted at LSU in law. And then he kind of told me that he didn't know if he wanted it or not. And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, I like what I'm doing. And he said, I don't want to leave, you know. I said, well, Cam, I said, you can coach, but can you become a lawyer?
Mm-hmm.
He said, well, I don't know. I said, you would never know it. I said, go try it. If you don't like it, you could always come back. He said, but I don't want to go. And I said, well, Cam, I said, you're going to have to go. I said, because you don't have a job. He said, for what? I said, because I'll fire you. And he went, struggled, made it.
Right. And now he's the district attorney.
Yeah.
How proud were you of him when he won that job or that seat election night?
No, I tell you, that's one of the boys. And I have so many good kids that became doctors, lawyers, architects, judges, construction. I mean, it's just remarkable the talent that you had and the things that these people have accomplished. And just seeing them being successful is rewarding.
Right. Like I said, Joe Folse works for us at HTV. He was instrumental in getting you lined up for this show. That's how highly your players or your ex-players think of you. Going back to Joe Folse, there's a story that I guess the legend keeps growing here, because it was the Homer game where I heard that Joe Folse backpedaled for about 2 minutes to run out the clock. And I want to hear from the horse's mouth what happened that day.
Well, I tell you, that was in '68. That should have been the championship game.
Yeah.
We had beaten Houma the year before for the state championship, I believe 28-0. Mm-hmm. And they came to Thibodeau to play the semifinal game. And they had a quarterback by the name of Prince, I believe. I believe he went to Arkansas. He was a heck of an athlete. And they had a senior ball club.
Mm-hmm.
And we played very good defense right before the half. We had a goal line stand and stopped them inside the one as time ran out. We wound up, I believe the final score was 7-0. And we just ran the clock out, and Joe was quarterback. And to run out, he was running back and like a backwards. And we had a 200-yard gain, but you subtract what he lost by running out the clock going backwards, we probably wound up negative.
That's what I heard. I heard Joe had a pretty good game rushing, and he destroyed it. But what kind of athlete was he?
Joe was the type of person that was well coordinated between hand, eye, foot, and so on. And like I said, you could take a kid like that and say, let's go play golf. Never played golf. You probably could pick up a putter or a driver and play. Let's go play tennis. Well, I don't play tennis. Just show him how to hold a racket, could play tennis. But he played football, basketball, baseball, track. He could high jump and so on. And he was an athlete. Wasn't a big kid. I mean, senior year, he only weighed about 150, 155. He put on a few pounds. Went to LSU and had a good year at LSU.
He went on to college. How many student athletes that you coached ended up playing college ball?
I have no number offhand, but there was quite a number of them have gone and excelled and have played at LSU, at Southeastern, Louisiana Tech, Northeast, USL, and have done tremendously good.
The other day while we were eating lunch, I asked you a question and you said, oh, I could see you grimacing, trying to pick one, but I'm going to ask you and put you on the spot anyway. Out of E.D. White and Thibodeau High School, who was the greatest athlete that you had the pleasure of coaching?
Now, I know you want me to say, I'm not going to say anyone.
No, pick who you want.
I had back, I had Eric Candlestick for only a year. He was tremendous.
Yeah.
I had Joe Folse, played football, baseball, track. I had Laurie DuPont. Became an outstanding athlete and also a very, very excellent coach. Ronald Scott at Thibodeau High School. He played up at Southern, played a little pro ball with Miami. Wayne Duncan, Ellery Scott, Lynn Kennedy. David Otan was a good athlete.
It's just too hard to pick one, isn't it? Too many good.
But I'm a surprise.
Okay.
I'm gonna pick a kid that played offense and defense and was a good leader and could play hurt. Tommy Rowe.
Okay. I see him in a different light now, but he was pretty good. Huh?
Yeah, he played offensively at fullback, and he was my middle linebacker. And he was a captain, but he's the one that could motivate you. We'd meet in the gym, and right before the game, he'd have the team, the lights out, the curtains closed. And he was an all-arounder. But I had so many good ones. It's tough.
Right. Do you miss coaching?
I did.
You did for a while,
Yeah.
and now you're out of the. How long did you miss it after you got out?
Oh, 3 to 5 years, yes.
Yeah.
Now I go to a football game. If I want to leave at the half, I could leave at the half. If it's raining too much or it's too cold, now you have a little laxity. But
Being a coach. As a matter of fact, I had this conversation with Don Schwab when I interviewed him. Being a coach.
That's one of my boys too.
That's right. That's right.
Gerald Albert.
That's right. And I was going to get to Gerald Albert in a little while. But being a coach, the coaches don't have it bad. The coaches' wives have it worse. Now, at one point, I understand, you made your wife go sit under the scoreboard.
I believe she made herself go under the scoreboard.
Tell me about that.
Well, she used to sit in the stands and with the kids and so on and friends, and I guess you hear some obnoxious remarks and so on, and not to get involved one way or the other, she decided that underneath the scoreboard off to the track, she could have the kids there, have a comfortable seat and watch the ball game,
Right.
and not hear any kind of abuse, neither negative or positive, and she enjoyed it, and she loved it. She had a little special spot, and it was good.
Were you a fiery coach?
I don't believe I raised my voice too much, but when I did pick it up, they knew what was happening, and I wasn't energetic. I didn't run up and down the sidelines and so on, but I was pretty calm.
Right. What type of changes have you seen over the years, for the better or for the worse, in football? Take us from 1954 until you retired, and then to present day. You said early on you were coaching 8-man football. Take us through some of the changes. In your opinion, was it good or bad for the
Well,
game?
there's tremendous changes in equipment. Equipment now is lighter and more durable and safe. Helmets. They play without the face guard and so on. Coaching has changed. And we have excellent coaches now that have been well prepared.
And more coaches.
More, yeah. I mean, when we coached, we had 2, sometimes 3. Right now, in some schools, you have 8, 10, 12, and they're going into special. Each has a certain one. Has the quarterback, one has the back, one has the defense, one has the linebacker, one has the ends, and they specialize. The kids are stronger. Their food, their training, their weights. It's a different ball game. It's been so scientific. Back in the 50s and the 60s, the terminology. Now you have little kids, 5, 6, 7. They know what's a blitz. They know what's a sack. They know the terminology. It's been a good change.
What do you tell young athletes watching this show who might have grown up in the area, who know who Coach Szush is, because naturally all that legacy is passed down from generation to generation? What could you offer them about You know, a lot of them are looking at football maybe as a ticket out, or looking at basketball, any kind of sport. But the numbers don't reflect the fact that many of them actually get a chance to play professional sports and make a living doing it. What kind of advice could you give them?
Do what you do what you like to do. Yeah, have fun. Try. If you don't like it, well, do something else. But at least give it a shot. And athletics is going to be tough. You only got to have one winner.
Right.
And you have to learn how to play both sides, winning and losing, and you have to pay the price. You have to condition yourself, and your grades have to be good. But the advice I'd say, go ahead and give it a shot. If you like it, continue. I mean, you can reach any level you want. Use your abilities that you have.
Right. As a coach, you've had a chance to coach players that are coaches now. We mentioned Joe Fake, but another one that I said we'd get to would be Gerald Albert.
Oh, Gerald.
Who had a great career in coaching.
My pop gun I had was at Thibodeau High School. Must have been 1955, 56. And he played he didn't play football, but he played basketball. And he had a very excellent little side groove jump shot. And, he's the type of person that was around the ball. You could have two 6-footers, and he's 5'8", and he'd get the rebound. The ball would come to him. He just had a knack to be at the right place at the right time. And his senior year, during the PE class, playing touch football, he stubbed his toe kicking off and broke his toe. And it was very painful, and he couldn't play basketball. So I finally got his shoe, and I went to Mr. Dietrich at Quality Baller Works, and we fabricated out of aluminum a protective shield that he could put on his tennis shoe that would lead him to go out and practice and run a little bit. And for weeks to follow, he did condition himself, and eventually by the end of the season he got back to being normal. But Pop Gun was a very, very active for a little basketball player.
Went on to win state championships in practically every sport he coached.
Oh, tough in softball and basketball.
Another guy, Laurie DuPont.
Well, Laurie has a very good football knowledge and background. He served with me at E.D. White, and I had him at Thibodeau High School. And now he's over at West St. John, and I believe they won their second championship. He does a good job. Larry Henderson was one of my coaches. He's the principal now from the Mobile area, but he was over at Murphy High School and turned out some tremendous ball clubs up there.
I can hear it in your voice and see it in you that you take pride in the fact, like you said earlier, that some of your offspring have gone out and taken their talents and what they've learned, and they've been successful. And you really grab onto that, and you really cherish that.
We go out and follow. We follow. We saw Laurie play. We saw the championship games and so on. And it goes back to doing what you like to do.
Right. What would you do different if you had to go back to 1954 and you're starting your coaching career different? What would be different about it? Would you change anything?
Not too much. Just learn from experience. That's all. You know, if it works, keep it. If it doesn't work, get rid of it. You know. And I had coaches that if I had a talent, I guess it was selecting assistant coaches. And I had some good ones.
Right.
And they stayed with me for years. And the offshoots, they became coaches out. And some of them are still in coaching, and it's good. And he used to come with me and, well, Coach, let's do this, let's do that. And I said, well, let's try it and practice. If it works, we'll do it. And they did the coaching. I mean, they just did a good job.
I remember going into my senior year, Cam Morvant was our head coach. Joe Fake was my secondary coach. You were the coach at Thibodeau. We had a scrimmage at Vanderbilt, in the front lawn at Vanderbilt. We never finished because the rivalry was so intense, I think, between Coach Szush and Coach Morvant trying to figure out who had the better team, that the scrimmage was called off because it got a little out of hand.
It became Thibodeau E.D. White. A consolidation school. Yeah.
But that's how it was, wasn't it?
It was good. I mean, and the kids, you know, after the ball game, they went back. They were friends and that. But on a Friday night, game time, it was different.
That was some special moments, wasn't it?
Yeah. Very, very special. I mean, even with the fans, they were tremendous. We had a good following and a good booster club, and it was tremendous.
Those booster clubs have grown over the years.
Oh,
I bet when you first started coaching,
we could have a meeting in the Volkswagen. Yeah, and it was just the president, the vice president, the secretary, the treasurer, and then you get a couple of wins, and then you got a few more. Then we headed to the basement. Then we headed to the fire company. Then finally had to bring it over to the cafeteria. It really grew, and the following has been tremendous.
I guess I've been able to see the E.D. White side quite a bit being in TV. Most Vanderbilt graduates probably have never experienced the E.D. White side. They only see the Vanderbilt side. But I know from broadcasting early football games, you know, in the 80s, early 80s when E.D. White was going to the playoffs again, that there's a real specialness about their fans and their booster club. It's almost like, I guess the word passion.
They would get on the bus, they would get convoys of the cars. I mean, it's tremendous. We went to a number of home away games and wound up with more people from Thibodeau than they had at their home. And it was just, and people were amazed just looking on the other side. The visitor side was packed, and the home to that seat. So it was
tremendous. And then at Thibodeau High, it was almost like LSU.
Yeah. So it
felt like an LSU atmosphere out there.
It was good. Thibodeau High School had some good moments, and they had some good ball players, good ball clubs.
What's your greatest moment as a coach? Does it come down to one game, or does it come down to one play?
That's a tough one. I guess maybe winning the first championship, the state championship, might have been a good moment. The second one was good. Getting into the playoffs, you had some ball games that were marginal to get in.
And that's back in the day when first downs.
Yeah, first downs.
You could win a game on first down.
First downs, a total yardage. I mean, it was different. You know, sometimes only the district champion would advance. Now you have two, then you have.
You have a losing record and get in now.
Yeah, and you have wild. It's different right now. But first you have to be a district champion to get in. Then they said the runner-up, and now it's a little bit better with a wild card, which makes for more people in, I guess, and more talent. So it's good.
Now you had 3 teams, and I may get the years all mixed up, but correct me if I'm wrong. 67, 68, and 69. Which was the better team? I'm really putting you on the spot now. Your phone may be ringing.
Yeah. Well, all 3 of them were tremendous. 67 was a good ball club. We just happened to play on a night, on a Saturday night in Kenda, that things just didn't work out. The weather, the front came in, it was freezing, raining earlier. We didn't get any help from any of the officials. The sideline marker man, he's on my side, and they're going 8 yards for a first down, and we're going 10. And I don't know what they did on the other side, but we got beat by 7. But I thought we had a good club.
Because you know this argument's been going on for years, and probably, what, we 60, 60, you know, well over 25 years this argument's been going on. So 67?
Now 68 was a different ball club, it was more mature. And 69, I believe, was a good year, but it was a carryover from 68, the leadership and so on. And he just didn't want to get beat.
Right.
So whatever you could do, I could do better. So it worked out good.
When it's all said and done, and people are going to talk about Coach Szush, and I ask this question on every show, and you got to put one word on your tombstone that's going to describe you as a coach, as a teacher, as a husband, as a mentor, what would the one word be?
I might not be able to mention on this show. I don't know. Fair.
Okay. It's fairness. Is that what depicts Coach Szush throughout his life?
I hope so.
Yeah. Like I said before, I asked you a previous question. When your players ask about you, when the Joe Fakes come to me in the office and say, you got to do Coach Szush, or the Cam Morvon, two of the district attorneys, talk about Coach Szush, or the Byron Talbots, or the Tommy Groves, or anybody you run in, Laurie DuPont, when he wins 2 state championships, thinks back of his days coaching with Coach Szush. What kind of feeling does that give you?
No, it's rewarding.
Does it make it all worthwhile that you chose this career?
Oh, yes. I don't believe I'd have changed. I probably had a couple of times to maybe to get out and do this, but I never did.
Do you see yourself doing anything different?
Not too much.
Did you ever think about doing anything different?
No, not really. I mean, when I got out of coaching, I was in recreation, still with the kids. I had 25 years of recreation director for, I worked for 6 mayors, and that's been always with the kids and had programs, so it was good. And I had a good assistant coach too. My wife, yeah.
If I ask your best friends to describe Pat Szush, what would they tell me?
Depending upon my friends, you'd have a multitude of.
In a nutshell, though, what would they say?
I think they would say something fairly good, I guess. I don't know what, but it would be positive, I believe. I hope it would.
Would it be a guy they would crawl in a foxhole with?
I believe so. Because we had some battles. You know, we went through some difficulties. We had some good years. We had some lean years, but we had more good than lean. We had more good kids than bad kids.
Right.
So it's good.
Kids in general. You know, you hear people complaining about kids all the time, and you wonder why they even have kids, because some people complain so much, but kids in general, pretty fun to be around.
Oh yes, they're all different, but I believe, like I said, there's more good kids than bad kids. And just like Buster Knockin, one of my old principals, he never believed there was a good boy, totally bad. He said if he was 80% bad and 20% good, he worked on the 20%. And that's the way it is.
Yeah. Well, Coach, we certainly appreciate you sitting down with us today. It's been an honor for a Vanderbilt graduate to sit down with an E.D. White coach who's been there through the years and a Thibodeau coach. And I got to tell you that sometimes the rivalry is brought
good
to legendary status by the people who have played on both sides. But to sit down with a guy of your stature is really a privilege. And
but before, I was in Florida last weekend, and we spent Thursday to Sunday. We might have stayed till Monday, and my cousin said, "Well, why y'all going back Sunday night?" I said, "Well, I have to do some work on a TV station, radio station." So, and she was very proud of that. She said, "Well, make me a copy." I said, "Okay, I'll see what I can do." And I was in the kitchen, and they were at the table, and I heard one of them say, "If they ask you how many grandkids you had, what you gonna say?" I said, "Mom," I said, "I got enough." But I have to say I have 6 grandkids and 4 great-grandkids. And like my wife said, they're all grandkids.
Right.
And the wife we've been married for September for 54 years. The oldest boy is Terry Brillo. He's retired. My oldest daughter, Jerry Lee, is in Houston. She retired from the railroad and is working with an air cargo place. My second son, little Joe, is Perry. He's in Houma. He's with a Canadian ambulance supervisor. he and his wife, Sue. My youngest daughter, Jonna, works for the State Health Department and married to Sid Grove. And my youngest son is Kenneth, and he's married to Denise, and he works for an installation company, does a lot of work with casino boats and crew boats and so on. And he's in Lake Charles now, but during the summer, I believe he's gone to Wisconsin. He wants to know if I need any tickets to go see the Packers. I said, well, give me a call.
All right.
But other than that,
I can tell you're proud of your family.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. That's your heart and soul?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Well, Coach, we appreciate it.
And I enjoyed it.
You've been a privilege to be around, and although I don't know you as well as some of these other guys you've been around for years, I've heard a lot about you, and it's been all good. And thanks for joining us today.
I appreciate all the efforts you went through and your TV station, and even having Joe Fockey as an associate and working with you. As long as he came back to Thibodeau and don't wear a V on him, I can handle that.
We let him go sell in Thibodeau every now and then just to neutralize.
Would he have to have an Edie White jacket on?
Oh, we won't allow that.
Okay.
Thanks a lot,
Yeah,
Coach.
thank you.
All right.